Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm back with another What's in My Cart video. This one is going to be for the newest kit from ByTheWell4God. This is Paradox, Truths in Contrast. I do have an unboxing here on my channel if you want to see that. It has been a few months since we've done one of these videos, but now that school is done, I have a little bit more time to create. So I thought I would put together one of these carts and then kind of show you what I've pulled. There's a lot of older product that will coordinate with this month's kit. So just keep in mind, this isn't all the things I'm going to be using. A lot of this is inspiration for you guys to pull what you might have. So there are tons of things in this cart, and there are things that are not on the cart that I'll be using as well. So typically on the top of the cart, it's going to be all of the new items from the release. That way I'm, intentional about using what's new, as well as any smaller items that might get lost in other areas of the cart. My middle tier is going to be stamps, dies, embossing folders, and mixed media mediums. And then my bottom tier is usually a catch-all. So that's going to be papers and scraps and maybe some other projects that I'm working on for ByTheWell4God for the month. So this will be the cart for January. So let's head on over to my desk and I will go through each and every item that I have here in the cart for you guys. All right, so I've pulled everything out from the top of the cart. As I'm looking at this, I don't know that I've ever done a what's in my cart in my new table setup. So we'll see how this goes. I have a little more space, but like I said at the start of the video, there are a ton of things in my cart. The point of doing all of this is to inspire you guys to pull some things that are maybe in your stash. It is not meant to push you to go buy more things. So let me just be clear with that. So I shop my stash. I used to go out and buy new things to coordinate with the kit, but there is enough with the release that I don't need to do that. I've acquired quite a few things over the years, so I don't necessarily feel like I need to go out and buy new things each month. Sometimes if there's, a one-off thing I don't have, I will, but everything that you are going to see in the video today is stuff in my office that I have shopped. So like I said, I'm encouraging you guys to shop your crafty stash. You may be surprised at things that you have forgotten that you had. I, in fact, had done that. So what you see here is everything that lives on the top tier of my cart. Now I will have the cart that I use linked down below. Links down below typically are going to be kind of generalized just because I only have so much room in that description box. So I'm not going to link to each individual stamp. I'll just link to the ByTheWell4God stamps in general. And one thing I also want to point out, if you've not seen one of these videos before, is that I do share a lot of things that are discontinued or sold out. Again, not to frustrate you, but to maybe encourage you if you do have it. So there will be a lot of older stamps that are no longer available. I'm not doing that to like tease and taunt that I have those and you don't. It's just that I know many of you may have those stamps in your stash and we want to be using the things that we have paid for. So like I said, if it's not linked down below, let me know. I can send you a direct link. But then other things that are available will be linked. Even some of the Tim Holtz things that I have shared are discontinued as well. So this is more just for inspiration to maybe be thinking about some things, maybe not identical to what I have in here, but similar that you have in your stash that you can pull. So like I said, most everything on the top is the new things because that's what I want to be intentional about using this month. So I separate out the die cuts by package, but by the end of the month, it's all mixed up. This is just more so that it's easy for me to rifle through. So I have just some random trays. I don't even, I could be all aesthetic and cutesy and pick trays that match the month. You guys, I'm not about that life on social media. I use what functions. So I just have a variety of like trays I've acquired over the years, baskets, things like that. And this just makes it readily accessible. Now I do save packaging. So at the end of the month, if I have leftovers, I do go ahead and put them back in the packaging. And then it just makes it easy for storage purposes. So all of the die cuts are put on these trays. They have kind of lessened the border that they have on their die cuts over at ByTheWell. And so I don't necessarily feel the need to trim them down as much. But in the past, I would go ahead and trim things down just because I like a small border. So if you're working, maybe you're wanting to lean into like the distressed aspect of the kit this month, you may even want to go ahead and distress your die cuts. So I'll, go through with some distressing and brush them on the die cuts. The idea is to put all this together to make it easy when I go to create in my Bible or whatever project I'm doing. So I have the die cuts and trays. And then one thing that helps in your cart is to have multiple containers. I know that kind of seems redundant because you're already in a cart, but it helps to separate things. So I have, just, again, more just random containers and bowls. This is where I keep some past like library cards that I think I might want to use, die cuts. If I have pre-cut die cuts in the past months or past years, I'll pull those out. So I did some of these glittered snowflakes last month, and I had a couple leftover ones. So I went ahead and tucked those in there. I can show you this technique if you like. Leave a comment down below and I'll incorporate that into a video. And then I usually have a baggie with pre-cut die cuts. So I will show you what die this is when we get to that section. But that is another thing that helps, is if you know that there is a particular die that you're going to use a lot of, pre-cut a bunch of it ahead of time. You can even cut it out like I did here with just white mixed media paper versus cutting it out of the pattern papers. That way, these can be used month to month, and I can always, on the spot die cut out of the pattern papers if I want to. But I find that it's a little bit better for me if I do it out of the white mixed media cardstock, and I will try to remember to link the cardstock that I use down below for you guys. I have, again, some of these small containers. This is where I keep the kit sticker, but then I also keep like fibers and little bits and bobs in here. So I may go through my fabric stash, pull out some additional fabric, or as the month goes, this collects all of my fabric remnants, and then I can just pull from there as I'm creating. This is one of the gathering boxes. They did restock these. They are normally this color. I've like painted and distressed mine. And so I've gone ahead and with my little system here, I have a folder for each day of the devotional. I'm getting a lot of shadow. Sorry about that, guys. The sun's doing weird things today. Each day of the devotional. So I've already gone ahead and gone through the die cuts and the journaling cards and the flashcards and picked out the ones that go for that particular day. So day 2 has 3 flashcards and a journaling card for that day. So when I go to create, I know, that can be used. Same thing with that add-on ephemera set had some of these little labels with verses. So I went ahead and paired those with the day as well. So I make sure that I don't miss that. I don't necessarily always use everything that's in the folder, but at least it, puts it in front of me so I don't accidentally miss it. So there is that. That lives up front. All of the new stamp sets, those live up front because I want to make sure that I do use those. So those are up there, but I do have more stamps on the second area. Okay, these are a few things. I have not always pulled this stuff out. I know some people don't like when I pull other company stuff in, but this is, I used to always do these with my carts and I didn't film it, and then I decided to film it. So this is how I would do it even if I wasn't filming it. So sorry if you don't like that. You don't have to, get these things or have these things or use these things, but I have a ton of Tim Holtz and 49 and Market, and so I like to try to incorporate those in to go along with the kit. So I pulled out these mini marquee letters from Tim Holtz. Again, I'm not sure if these are still available. If they are, they will be linked down below. They are these acetate letters, and I thought that they kind of went along with the blocky letter that's paired in this devotional. And I have a mixed media product that I might also add to these to kind of give them, this, like they overlaid it over the texture. So it's got some texture on those letters. So I have kind of an idea to do that with these because these are shiny, they're acetate. So I don't always love to use shiny acetate type things. So again, I do have a product I can show you that I'll be playing with. So I have those. So I make sure that I use those. I have these from 49 and Market. These are the Artistry Essentials Mini Foliage. And this is from, Vintage Artistry Essentials Mini Foliage. Again, I don't know if these are still available. I've had these for several years, but they are acetate leaves. There's some butterflies in there. But there's some greenery in here, and there wasn't a ton of like greenery pieces in the die cuts. And I do like to create clusters with my die cuts. So not necessarily this piece, but I like to add greenery with the die cuts. And I do like, I don't love acetate shininess, but I do love the having different materials. So everything is not just paper. Usually I'll use like vellum, gold cardstock, things like that. So again, I do have a medium that I will show you that I can add to these and kind of do some different techniques to these foliage pieces. But I don't know, I just thought they were really pretty. They already have some like printed texture on them, so they look kind of like watercolor in various sizes. So those will be linked if those are still available. And then I have the collector layers from Tim Holtz. This is just a bunch of ephemera pieces. I don't always incorporate these, and these in particular are that thicker cardstock. I do have my big book. See, I'm remembering all these things because I haven't journaled in forever. I do have a big book of ephemera pieces. I'll have to find that. I don't even know where it's at. I'm looking in my office. Anyways, I have a ton of ephemera from Tim Holtz. So obviously, not all of these pieces are going to coordinate, but I just thought it might be fun to add some of these pieces into my clusters. I think I'm going to be journaling in my interleaved Bible. I put a little poll over on Instagram yesterday asking what people wanted to see, whether journaling Bible, deconstructed Devo, pocket Bible cards, or a mini book, and the vast majority said journaling Bible. So I'm going to go ahead and work in my interleaved Bible this month. Okay, this is an organizer from Target. I know they've had a few different designs release, so I'm not sure that this particular one is available, but I like this one. I know a lot of people have suggested other things for organizers, but I like that this one is a 12 by 12 section in the back, and so it fits bigger stuff in the back. It fits the length of the sticker sheets in this pocket here, and then the journaling cards fit nicely in this pocket. So it's just really, well designed for what I use it for. So like I said, this is mostly all the new stuff. I do have, some random little paper bits tucked in here just from past months that, kind of live there. Some of the dyeable muslin. All muslin is dyeable, but that's just what this is named over at ByTheWell4God if it's still available. So little square muslin sheets. I like to stamp on that to add some texture. I've got my journaling cards, labels, alpha stickers. All my stickers are in here. I've got the devotional and the booklets. I won't necessarily use all of the booklets, but I just kind of keep everything together. I have the pattern papers, and then I did go ahead and leave in these pattern papers from last month. I can't remember what these are called. Something trees, I think. And so, yes, they are Christmas trees, but I don't know. They're neutrals on the back, so I thought maybe I would use the backs as well. And I didn't use any of them last month, so I thought it might be good to leave them in there. So maybe I would be good about using up some of the stuff that I have. Stencils, we'll go through the stencils I've pulled. I've got the free scripture writing sheet, and then back here are the printable papers. And then I have a mixture of like acetate and vellum and, tracing papers and those kind of papers that I don't want to get, wrinkled or messed up. They stay in the back of this organizer really nicely. So that is that. Let's go through these stencils that I pulled. So of course there are the, I don't know what the best way to do this is. The stencils that were released this month. So there's Windstorm, Winter Forest, and Gothic Window. I did see somebody ask that I use the Winter Forest to get some ideas. So I do have an idea for that one there. So those are the three new ones. And then I've gone through my stash and pulled out kind of a collection of both ByTheWell4God and Tim Holtz stencils. So again, many of these are no longer available. This is just to remind you what you have in your stash. So Winter Flurry. I worked really hard to go through and try to find all the names for my stencils. This is Snowstorm. And remember, with stencils, you can do watercolor, you can do ink blending, texture paste. You can also dry emboss through your die cutting machine. That is something that I really love to do, especially if I'm, adding little torn bits of paper and things to my clusters. I'll dry emboss them. Glory. This is more stars, but it does have some snowflakes. And again, sometimes it's just nice to have variety in the background. Curly Ribbon. This one is from last month. Gauze. So trying to think of some of the textures that's in this kit this month. Distressed Ledger. There was a kind of ledger style paper. Eucalyptus. So there wasn't necessarily eucalyptus. I guess this is kind of eucalyptus-like in there. So I pulled that to have as a greenery. Lilies of the Field. Again, some things aren't exact. It's just kind of pairs with it and giving me some variety for backgrounds. True Vine. This one, if you guys could help me, I tried Google Lens searching this one. I did not mark down the name of this particular one. It looks like it's got like poinsettias and little berries and little flowers. I know, holly, there's holly berries in there. So I know it's one of the winter ones. I just can't remember the name. So if somebody could catch the name and drop it down below for me, that would be great. So I can update this one. But I'm trying to go through and pick winter. Country Lace. So there is a little bit of lace in the like collage pieces that are in here. So I pulled out some of my lacy things. Okay, and then for Tim Holtz, I have snowflakes. So somebody had mentioned if you missed the snowflake stencil last month, because it did sell out pretty quickly. Obviously, these are different, but snowflakes. So if this one is available, I will link it. So with the Tim Holtz stuff, I do try to link those individually if they are available. So snowflakes, crackle. There was some of these like kind of crackly ice textures in some of the pieces. So this is the crackle stencil from Tim Holtz. Speckles, I thought might be good for adding some like texture paste, snow type details. If you don't like texture paste, you can also use gesso, white gesso through this, and that doesn't give you quite as much dimension if you don't like that. I found texture paste is a little rough in my Bibles. It starts to kind of like pop off and break off. So I'm kind of moving away from using that as much in my journaling Bibles. So I'll show you some different ways to use this. Doily, again, kind of thinking about that lacy detail. This particular stencil, if you don't have it, I wouldn't recommend buying it. It's not one of my favorites. It has so much detail, it's kind of hard to see what it is. It kind of gets lost in translation. So we will play with this, maybe some dry embossing and see if that works a little better. But I don't know, it's not my favorite stencil. Lace. And then these were some older ones from ByTheWell4God before they switched to this style, as you can see. So this was Lovely Lace. This one is better than the Tim Holtz one, I feel like. It's a little bit more defined. And then this is a much older stencil from ByTheWell4God. This is Lovely Snowflakes. So it's got some snowflakes in that heart pattern there. So those are the stencils that I have pulled. So let me go ahead, put this away, and we'll pull the second tier of my cart. Okay, so second tier is going to be stamps, dies, embossing folders, and mediums. I used to pull all of the color matched mediums ahead of time, but because I work on, a variety of different projects throughout the month, that's not really workable for me. It may work for you if you only work through one kit a month. Over on the By the Well Instagram page, they do have a post that is pinned at the top of the feed that has all of the color matching that they've pulled for Daniel Smith watercolors, Distress colors, gelatos, Neocolor 2 crayons, the Versamagic chalk inks. I think that's everything. So you can go over there and see what colors they've pulled to coordinate. I used to show these in these videos, but these videos are already really, really, really long, and they've already done it. So you can go over there and take a look. But I do have a little basket of some mediums that I want to be, intentional about using, especially when it comes to the Distress paste. I just threw away another paste that I had just bought a few months ago. I do not on these, but the technique where you add, like this one I don't think is opened, but if you put press and seal in here and press out all of the air before you seal it, it does last longer. That is better, but even when I do that, they don't last forever. So these are things that we want to be intentional about using if you are purchasing it. So don't buy the super, super big containers. Actually, as I'm looking at this, I'm kind of thinking I have recently been vacuum sealing mason jars with all of my food pantry stuff. I may start doing that with these. So there are small little mason jars. I might start transferring my pastes into those mason jars and then vacuum sealing them and see if that lasts a little bit longer, because, you know, they aren't super expensive, but we do spend money on these things, and it's a bummer. You know, the crackle paste I just threw away was like 3/4 of the way full, and I just had to throw it away because it was all hard. So all that to say, I do try to pull out some things that maybe, you know, I don't know how you organize your craft stash, but sometimes things are kind of tucked away, put away. And so these are things I want to make sure I pull out and use. So for distress products, I do have some clear rock candy. So that is what I used on these snowflakes. So I adhered some double-sided adhesive to cardstock, ran it through my die cutting machine, pulled that backer sheet off of the sticker. So now this became a sticky surface. And then I just pressed some of this clear rock candy glitter on there. It is not like, you know, I can rub off some, but I'm really having to rub. So it does a good job of holding on there. There's some other ways that you can use this product, but it is just a loose, clear glitter. Tim Holtz does have some videos on his channel where he shows how he colors this glitter using alcohol inks. So if you want colored glitter, maybe that's something that we can play with this month as well. I do have some alcohol inks. So, you know, it's just one of those things that's been in my stash for a few years and I need to use up. So, and it's one of those things I can't use all the time. You know, this fits with the snow and the ice and that kind of thing. Frosted crystal. So this is that product that I was talking about using on the acetate pieces. And so frosted crystal, you do have to use embossing ink. So you'll use like a clear sticky ink like Versamark. So I'll dip my acetate pieces onto this, which will make them sticky. I will shake on some of this frosted crystal. You heat set it just like embossing powder, and it creates this kind of frosted look, like frosted glass kind of. It does have a little bit of a texture to it, so then you can add mediums onto it and it'll kind of hold on to distressed crayons and things like that. But I thought this would be fun for adding to those acetate pieces to kind of give them that frosted look. So again, one of those specialty products. I don't necessarily know that I would say go out and buy this, but I did buy it. So, you know, I want to use it up and not waste it. Since most of my pastes have dried up, one of the few that I have left is grit paste. And so this kind of has kind of a sandy texture when it dries. And so I thought that might kind of mimic snow, especially if we kind of press in some of the distress glitter into it before it dries. So I thought I might work with this through some of those stencils. I have some of the distress spritz. I've only used these once since I bought them. I know they've released new colors. I have not bought those just because I don't reach for these a ton. So these are a clear liquid with a colored mica. These are different from mica sprays. The distress mica sprays are a colored fluid with, I think, just a silver mica. So these are clear fluid with a colored mica, and it's, you know, color coordinated to the distress line, though, I mean, it's not identical to, you know, like your distress ink color, your distress oxide color. It's just really similar. So I thought, you know, snow glistening, ice glistening. So I picked a few colors that I thought would kind of go along with this month's release, remembering I don't have the newest set. So this is just set one. I pulled out weathered wood, and the way that I decided is I just looked at the bottom to see what the mica color was. Weathered wood is kind of a deep blue. I did pull out walnut stain as a brown because there are a little bit of brown in this kit. Fossilized amber because it's a gold. And then Uncharted Mariner because it's blue. So again, pulling those out because it's something I don't use a ton of. These are some other things I don't use a ton of. So Foundry Wax, I pulled out Sterling and Gilded. These you apply wet and then heat set, and they turn into a like foil, basically, a really shiny kind of metallic look. I know traditionally with winter we do silver, but I prefer gold, and the pine cones have like a faux gold glitter on them in the die cuts. So I don't know, I pulled both of these out depending on what I'm going to use. Glossy accents, I was thinking maybe for some of the windows or stained glass. Also, this works as a glue, so this could adhere the distress glitter and it would not flake off. So, you know, just one of those things I thought would be good to have on hand. So I have all of those in one of these little Y-weave baskets. These baskets you can get on Amazon, Target, a variety of different places in different sizes. Make sure if you're ordering on Amazon, you check the dimensions because they do come in different sizes. So there is that. This is going to be the longest part of the video. It always is. This isn't even all of the stamps that would coordinate. There were a lot that I looked at that would coordinate, but I don't know. I just tried to pick and choose. So in the unboxing video, I had mentioned this alpha. Now I did see that they did re-release the Miriam. I don't remember what size it was, but it's sold out again, I believe. So I'll double check for you guys, but it looks like Miriam is sold out. There was a Miriam Bold, the Miriam in the 4x6, and then Miriam numbers. And then actually, I don't know what happened. I thought that I pulled it out. There was, yep, right here, Miriam Meek. So a small 3x4 version as well. So shop your stash. This is the font that they used on most of the products for the release this month. You may have this older set, Aristocrat. This is not identical, but it is similar. It's that, you know, tall, thin, sans serif kind of hand scripted style font. So depending on, you know, what you have, there are those. Okay, so I pulled out a ton of stuff, you guys. So this was a kit stamp. I think this may have been the kit stamp last month or last year or the year before for winter, Christmas. Has these critters, you know, not identical to the critters in this month's release, but there weren't any critter stamps, I don't believe. No. So you can see with similar, maybe look, these are more fall colors. I don't know. I don't remember. I do wish we had the kit name on the kit stamps. Some of them do, some of them don't. And so I need to go back and try to figure out what kit this was from. I have not memorized them all, guys. Funny fact, there's over like 100 kits. So little critters, if you like little critters and want more of them. These, you'll notice by the packaging, are much, much older. So this is Prince of Peace. This had, you know, some little clothing items that kind of matched with this kit. And then, of course, there is a critter. Again, critter, covenant critters, different style. But again, if you're wanting to really lean into those critters, you know, you can change up the colors of stamps and create your own ephemera. Winter critters, all the critters, guys. So again, different style, but these, you know, winter critters, you don't get to use all the time. So I'm trying to point out some things maybe you want to pull out and use. Joyful Witness, I don't believe there's any birds. There was an owl. That was the only bird I remember seeing, but again, winter themed critters. And then that one was not... That was I don't think that one was ever for sale, so ignore that. Bethlehem ornament. So I went through and tried to pick things that had snowflakes. There are snowflakes in the, let's see. There's snowflakes in Cozy Neighbors and in the kit stamp. So you don't necessarily need more snowflakes, but if you want more snowflakes, I thought I would point out some of the past ones that had snowflakes. So Bethlehem ornament, there's also this poinsettia maybe you want to use. But yeah, kind of looking at the snowflakes there. Winter Peace, this was more for the snowflakes. These style critters are very different from the style of this month. This is a much older stamp set done by Ashley. This is Merry Christmas. Again, some snowflakes. Also the little pine cone that's in here. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's another stamp set that had pine cones, but I'll have to dig it out. This was by Christina, Adore Him. Looking at some of these greenery pieces. So the floral does have some little pine boughs in there, but in case you're wanting some additional shapes, this was a good one. And then some stylized pine cones are in there. The Wreath Shop has kind of that similar floral to this month, and then greenery pieces. New Growth. This was not a winter stamp set, but I thought that the style of the florals was similar. And so, you know, if you're wanting, sometimes the shape of these don't necessarily work with whatever card or something that I'm trying to do. And so I like to have some alternative shaped florals, you know, just so I have some options. So there's New Growth. I Am, again, this is a much older stamp set, but has some floral and greeneries that would work. Peace of God, again, more snowflakes, a candle, and then this large swag piece. It does have some candy canes in it, so it's a little more Christmas than winter. Poinsettia piece. There is that one. So just by changing up, you could do more of the white poinsettias and then like some blue berries, green berries, you know, something like that, and that would match the kit. These were some stylized trees. So they're not identical to the stylized trees that are in this kit, but if you stamped these in blues, especially if you did the technique where you like dip Neocolor 2 crayons in water and then color on these and then stamp with them, would give you that washy watercolor look. And so if you're looking for a tree stamp, that is why I pulled out Joy to the World. There are some like coffee and hot cocoa mugs in the ephemera. So there is Noel Cheer. This one you can kind of piece together and change the topper, add little add-ins in there. So there's that one. This is a much older stamp set, My Chosen Portion. Again, some little coffee cups. Place Your Faith. This one really matches well with the ephemera piece. There's that. There are some little cozy chairs. I don't think there's girls, but there's cozy chairs. So pulled out a Heart at Rest with this girl in her chair. There's her little mug, her reading a book, candles, you know, just some of the little home type items that we see in the ephemera. Finding Rest. I did see a journaling card with a fireplace. Again, some of those cozy items. This was a combination of fall and winter. So there's, you know, kind of a variety of pieces, and you can build together your little scene with your cat. There's a little cat that you can put on there. Light the Way. So there are lots of these little houses throughout the ephemera and stickers and things like that. So of course these are different than that. These are more kind of Christmassy, but again, just, you know, I don't know. Inspiration. I probably won't necessarily use these, but I'm trying to give you lots of options so that maybe you have something of one of these in your stash that you can pull out. Practically Perfect. So these are probably a little bit more styled like the ephemera pieces. Of course, they're brightly colored. This was a past Christmas release. Or yeah, I think it was a Christmas release, but you could do them in blues. You could add texture pastes on here. And different things like that. I like that this little swag has stars versus actual like Christmas lights. So that might work for this month. So there's Practically Perfect. Christmas Row House. So this is a little set of houses that you can decorate. Again, just keep in mind, if you color it, you know, in those blues and grays, you can coordinate that. Okay, and then there was a card that has this kind of cathedral. There we go. And I think that there was, oh yeah, those two. So there were these journaling cards that had these cathedrals on them. There aren't a ton of this imagery in the release, but if you really liked this and wanted to lean into it, I pulled out the DIY Cathedral and DIY Cathedral add-on stamp sets. Both of these are sold out, I believe. In fact, I think they even restocked these at the time of the release and they sold out again. So this is one of those kind of niche ones that you're probably not using a ton. And so this would be a good opportunity to pull these out and utilize them for this release. So those are those. And then just some good standalone ones, Digging Deep with the label, you know, just good for note-taking, especially if you're working in a journal or something like that. Textures. There are a few kind of fabric textures in the release. So not necessarily sweater, but just kind of leaning into that a little. Cable collage. This gives you that cable knit sweater texture. Waffle knit. Use that. Cottage florals. So very different florals, but there are some, oh, this little piece right here. There's this kind of nettle. Is that what it is? Not a, yeah, sure. That piece there. So they're similar in this stamp set. And I thought this would be really pretty if you picked up different inks, maybe some of those distress spritzes, and get this multicolor look and stamp in a background. I thought that would be a really pretty background stamp to use. So that's Cottage Floral. Favorable Washi, again, kind of leaning into the collage style that we see on some of the pieces. In fact, there is this winter collage that released this month that has a little bit of like a snowflake washi layered in there. So I thought this one might be a good one to use if you want to lean into that collage style. Christmas sweater. That one is in blues. Kind of give you an idea. Humble Textures. I picked this one for the lace piece, but also these images could be used as well. Glorious Plaid and Build Plaid DIY. So there is a little bit of plaid texture in the papers. So that is all of the stamps, as if there wasn't enough, right? That is a ton. Let's see. Next up are dies. So just a few dies. Of course, pulling out the snowflakes. These are Sizzix and Tim Holtz. This is Paper Snowflakes Mini. I love these. These are especially fun to layer up on top of each other. This is the die set that I used for these dies. They are really delicate, so eventually I want to get one of those metal shim plates for my die cutting machine. You just want to make sure you have good clean plates when you cut through this and run it through several times to get that really delicate detail. But there's that one. This is a much larger set. This is Stunning Snowflake, and it is 2 pieces. So you can use them individually or layer them up to build up, you know, a really intricate snowflake. And then let's see, this is plaid, right? Simple plaid. And then this one here is crochet, just a really good decorative crocheted border. And then this is the die set that I'd used for those pieces that I had pre-cut and had them up on the top of my cart. These are labels, so just a ton of different labels, just good for, you know, titles and, you know, things like that. So those are the dies that I had picked out. And then for embossing folders, this is an Impresslet. So these have been discontinued. So what's on the market's on the market. When they're gone, which is sad because I like these. They cut and emboss, and so they give you these really pretty snowflakes. So this is Snowflake, has 2 in there. And then this is I don't think this is a Tim Holtz. This is Winter Snowflakes. This is one of the 3D folders, so it gives you a lot of texture with those snowflakes. Now again, you don't necessarily need these. If you have the snowflake stencil, you can do the dry embossing technique that I've shown many times, running that through your die cutting machine with the embossing squishy mat and some paper, and it'll emboss the texture of the stencil on your paper. So I just, you know, I have this, so I'm going to use it. But honestly, in my Bible, this amount of texture does get squished down quite a bit. So you don't necessarily need to have the 3D folders. There wasn't really any wood, but I always think of like winter and trees, wood. So tree rings is that one there. And then this is wood grain. So wood grain texture. All right, that is everything that's in the second tier. So let me go ahead, put this away, and then we'll look at the final tier of my cart. Okay, so like I said, the bottom tier ends up kind of being my junk drawer. I end up just throwing miscellaneous things down there, or things that like don't fit in the other tiers. But I do have a lot of papers that I pulled so that I would have them at hand. So I'll talk about this little stack here in a second. But these I'm sure you've seen in my What's My Cart before. These are rub-on transfers. This is the Curator's Meadow set from 49 and Market. And it had some of these postage stamps in blues that I thought would go well. Some of these little drink stains. The critters are not like cutesy critters, so probably won't use those. But yeah, these are really nice quality rub-on transfers, and I want to use them up because there's a ton of product in here. So there's that. And then for papers, I am going to be doing quite a bit of like embossing and die cutting and layering and things like that. So you can color your own paper. You do not need to buy colored paper. I just happen to have these, and it saves me a step from having to color white paper with, you know, inks or sprays or whatever. So I have a couple of the craft stock sets from Tim Holtz. These are the cools and the neutrals. They are craft paper that has been colored to match the distress line. These are especially fun to emboss and then rub off with like one of the sanding discs, because then it exposes the craft core comes through, and it's just really cool techniques that you can do because it's distress paper. They take distress inks well, so I could add sprays to these and really kind of add some more interest to them, but it just gives me a base color to work with. So this has like blues and greens, and then this of course was neutrals, browns and things like that. So there's those. I love mixing metallics with, you know, kind of that winter theme. So this is the craft stock in metallic. So there is gold and silver, similar to these craft stocks. You know, you can emboss and then buff away. This is like a printed, I believe it's like a printed, like they flood it with the color. So it does resist some, you know, inks and sprays, but you can stamp on it with like archival inks and stuff like that. So there is that. I have a ton of these backdrop papers. This is volume 2, volume 4, volume 2. I really love this paper, caught my eye, but it's got some, you know, blues and neutrals. Of course, I have both sets of the papers from By the Well. So I have 48 papers here. I don't necessarily need more paper, but sometimes I like to have, you know, more of these like this, like faux ledger paper. I hate the smell of, I know hate's a strong word, but I've decided I love going to vintage stores and looking at vintage antiques and things. I hate the smell. I hate the textures. So I like these because it's printed. So he's actually scanned in antique papers and then turn them into, you know, cardstock papers. So they're not as delicate. They don't have the smell. They're not going to fall apart. So I have, like I said, volume 2, and then volume 4 is all like neutrals. There are one of like these little color palettes in there, but just things that I can stamp on, die cut, things like that. And then this little pile. So I have this folder is mostly my dyed papers that I created. So these are papers I created a couple years ago using the Distress reinkers. I have a like shorts video here on YouTube showing how I did that, just adding a few drops of the reinker to water, dipping the papers in there. You lay them out on like cookie sheets or mats and let them dry. And then you get these dyed papers, you know, that look like vintage papers, but they are acid-free, non-toxic because they were done with the distress inks. And then you know, if you use, you know, our cookie sheets are clean, but they have like staining on them. That is what adds all of this fun texture. You can also like lay doilies on it as it dries, and it'll impress the doily texture on there. So this is just, you know, a bunch of the different papers and cardstocks that I did that a few years ago. I really need to do it again because I'm kind of running out of those. This is, I believe, ground espresso. Or yeah, I think this is ground espresso. So this was my favorites that I did was with the ground espresso. And then I just have some various like textured papers that have been given to me as gifts over the years, you know, scraps and pieces in that folder. Makes it really easy to grab and use. And then this little stack, I did a video on this a few months ago. This is the free sermon notes that they have over at ByTheWell4God. So this is, I think it has its own section in the shop titled Sermon Series. And so these are free. These are sermon notes that Tom put together to go along with the sermons at their local church. I did look, you can find the sermon videos online if you want to watch, you know, and listen to the sermons, but you do not necessarily have to listen to the sermons to work through the notes. They are standalone, and they're just kind of like mini devotionals almost. There are some like questions to help you engage with them. And so maybe, you know, you don't want to do the full kit, or you're looking for some additional things to work through. They have, over a dozen of these now. And so I did a video a few months ago showing how I stitched this booklet using some of the pattern papers from By the Well. And so I will try to remember to link this video down below. I used a mixture of their papers, and then I mixed in some of my hand dyed papers to create this booklet. And this booklet is where I'm working through the sermon series notes. And so I even went and scaled the sermon series notes down really, really, really small so I could tuck them into pockets. And so I'll do that. Obviously, I've only done one sermon series so far, but now that life is kind of, I say simmering down, it's not really, but school's done. And so this just gives me a place where I can kind of have fun, create a little bit, but then also take notes on the sermon. And so I will do that through here. This will just all be for a sermon series. So if I have some extra time this month, I want to work on that. So that is a look at everything that I have pulled together in my cart for Paradox this month. Again, check out those links down below. If you have any questions or comments or special requests of things that you want to see that, in my cart, certain techniques or products used, make sure you leave me a comment down below and I go through those, I answer those. And so that kind of helps guide me into what videos you want to see this month. Like I said, I will be creating in my interleaved Bible, and I will be doing processes throughout the month for you guys. So stay tuned for that. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it's inspiring. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.